Hello, welcome to this space. Welcome to our beautiful being, the new human. Oh my goodness, clearing's been going on all day. I'm telling you, this is a different level of functionality. Oh my goodness, beautiful divine ones, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are really living in a new vibration. We are the new vibration, you know? We haven't arrived in a space or a place. We are the space and the place, all right? Please hear that line. We'll let a few more in here. And everyone can give a beautiful shout out thank you to Doreen, who's here, because Doreen emailed me about 30 minutes ago and said, will I be getting the Zoom link for the meeting? And I said, oh, that's not a good question to get asked 30 minutes before a space. What did I do? So I went in and I took care of it. So Doreen is why everything is flowing as it is in this moment. So thank you, Doreen. Thank you. There's always some love sent from some space of our beautiful collective, reminding us, guiding us, supporting us, you know? So that is a lovely thought to allow ourselves to expand upon. All right, so we're going to jump in here. Now, these are really beautiful understandings we're going to discuss. And I want you to hear me with your heart first, and then I want you to allow your mind to be given its sense of compassion as your mind embraces what your heart is remembering. Your mind is embracing what your heart is remembering. This is within you. This information is within you, and you are remembering it. So then it comes up from your heart. It's an energy, it's a understanding, it's information. It's just like if you put information in a computer, it moves through, you know, it has its way in which the program unfolds to perform whatever the program is designed to perform, right? Programs are designed to perform certain things, yes? And so your programs, my programs, have been performing certain things. Some of our programs have been running longer than others. But as you listen to these new programs, they are actually your origination programs. They are actually what you already had and came in with, but the societal structure programming trumped them, infiltrated them, and installed itself as your default setting. So what I want you to do here today is I want you to allow yourself to, if you feel to, hold the intention to shift your default setting. Honestly, I'm telling you, it's not crazy. Hold the intention to shift your default setting to this new space. Some of you, it will be very new, and some of you, it will seem like you're on the other side of it. Doesn't matter where you come at in vibrational understanding of it. The main objective is you're here, you're coming in. You're aligning. That's all that matters. So I gave you some sentences, some bullet points that we would touch. So I'm going to just go write down them so that I stay true to what I said I would do. And we always allow for whatever's all inside of that space to come forth. So how do you hold the line of the space between? Now, we've talked before about the space between and looking at that understanding in different ways, like the space between this you and the next you, the space between, you know, you and another person you're close to, and the consciousness and the vibrational differences. There's a space between that. We talked about the space between in depth when I discussed how we have the abilities and in many cases the responsibility to be love and light for those in our immediate collectives. When we understand in our inner knowing and we listen that they're in the space between the physicality of their lifeline and the transition into the next journey of their next space of their consciousness. So that's the space between most people are used to, you know, kind of when you say, oh, the space between, some people think of that world, yes? But there are many spaces between. And I want you to allow yourself to entertain that, because this is not just about the transition space of the consciousness of a human. This is about all the spaces between. Because as you understand yourself deeper, more clearly, your vastness as consciousness in human form, you are going to start realizing just how many spaces between you are connected in with, you know? And what you're doing is you are fine-tuning your creatorship skills. That's what you're doing right now. You're fine-tuning your creatorship skills. This is beyond vision boards. You're gone from that space, my dear one. They're beautiful. They're powerful. They're a wonderful way for us to feel and connect in visually with these spaces that we have goals and aspirations and alignments in our hearts with, yes? But that was a tool that your consciousness needed to allow itself to understand it was a creator, period. It needed a space where it could look at a bunch of pictures. And I used to hold vision board classes. People would come to my house and I'd have stacks of magazines and poster boards and paste. And we would create these. So I love them. They're beautiful. I've saved some of mine. But the space you're in now with your consciousness and your understanding of all your vastness and all your spaces and every space between your spaces is like taking that vision board and moving it into what most people would see as a supernatural space of existence with your abilities. So that's why you're learning this. That's why this is coming in right now for you. This whole concept of space between is key. Because once you understand your vastness, even at a greater level of you, you can begin to work with the between spaces and the other spaces equally. That's a key to your expansion and your creatorship skills. Equally balanced. Because a lot of people, and there's no judgment, this is just understanding of ourselves. The more we understand ourselves, the more we move forward, yes? Up, in, fast, whatever you want. A lot of people come from picking a space of their life, like romance or health. You know, those are two really big ones, right? But they pick one space of their life and they really give it a lot of focus and a lot of work to figure out why it's imbalanced, to figure out why it's not what they want to see, to figure out how they can shift it. But what happens is the human then locks itself into a cycle of that. They lock themselves into a cycle of that space. And these other spaces kind of get left out. And these other spaces then are very imbalanced with the wholeness of the creator, you. So that's why you're getting this brought to you so much, the spaces between and the understandings of there being more types of versions of ways you can look at these spaces and you can pick up on them. Now, specifically, I had in just the last 7 days, 3 or 4 of you reached out and asked me to help you because someone close to you was in the space between, as in we see transition. And they were all very different instances, but they were all, and maybe you know it's another conscious collective type thing going on because we're in this understanding together, we're also able to pick up on it. So then the people that are connected to us, their higher selves know what we know. They are in the alignment of the space we're connecting into. It's all energy and vibration. If you can imagine yourself outside of your human form, how you exist in the quantum, you're just this vibrating wave of you. That's you, your consciousness, your formlessness. And so other formlessnesses, not really a word, I think, but other formlessnesses, all other consciousnesses that are in that alignment with you, with me, with us, they can communicate. They are communicating. And that's another thing you're having happen to you. You're having understandings and sensations and knowings coming in. And you're saying, like I mentioned my daughter Sydney saying to me, beginning of this space, beginning of June, go back, watch those videos now with this consciousness. But she said, I want to stop having the moments come where I know something's trying to tell me something, I'm trying to tell me something, someone's, in need of something, and yet it, doesn't dawn on me till 4 days later when some big thing happens and then they tell me it happened, and then I'm like, oh, that's why I felt it. She's like, I want to get past that space of me, and I want to know when I'm in the sensation why I'm having it so I can implement responsibly my ability. That's where we're at. And I explained this in that video, so if you need to go back and watch it or you want to, we talked about the way she and I navigated a space together and what happened with it, and it's still completely continuing to be in a beautiful rise of expansion and healing. But that's where we're at. So now, these people that reached out, I gave them guidance in the moment, because it's a moment you can't say, wait for Saturday and I'll tell you then in class. They had people in need. So I gave them guidance in the moment. But I did say, please watch the class on Saturday, because I'll talk about it. So here you go. Everything is alignment. So if in your being, you have an inner knowing to assist somebody in the space between transition, yes, that space between, and you need to ask yourself, you need to listen to yourself, you need to sense in your being how comfortable you are, and then you need to make note of that, and you need to be honest with yourself, because everything is energy. So if I tell 50 people that are all in different increments of conscious understanding of themselves, and have different levels of clarity, they have different levels of fear spaces that they're still healing, they're all going to work differently in this. Even though I can give you bullet points or some structure, you're still going to navigate from your energy. Yes? So I need you to keep that in mind. Now, if you have the inner knowing to assist someone, and it cannot even be that it came in via mediumship. It can be a legitimate physical phone call. Somebody, they still do that, people have phones and they call people. And it can be that someone calls and says, so-and-so's in the hospital. They need assistance. Please, can you send prayers? That's the most common thing people say, right? And some that know you very well may already understand, and it's amazing what people can do, how much fear they can drop when their loved ones are in need. And they can take themselves out of, can you send prayers, and say, I know you do energy work. I don't understand it, but can you please send help? I've had people say that to me. So remember your energies involved here. But remember also that you are always 100% surrounded by love. You may come in with old fears because it's embedded, it's programmed. And those old fears may be, if I go into the space between, I could meet something I don't want to meet. I could come in contact with something I don't want to come in contact with. Well, in all honesty, if that is where your vibrational of alignment is at, you can. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to be real so nobody gets freaked out and comes back to me and tells me you didn't tell me. I used to work in that space of alignment because I used to carry a lot of fear. I was afraid of demons. I was afraid of Satan. I was afraid of all these spaces. And so when I thought of even going out of body, I thought, oh, dear Lord, And I had to walk through my own fears, and that's also going to be the new human hero there. And I think there's a Q&A. I went in depth on that with you guys about walking through fear. But you set it all up. You set it all up. So whatever you experience in the space between to assist another, or your out-of-body journeys, or whatever you're doing, it's not as if it's cookie cutter and everybody's going to see the same thing because that's what that space is. It doesn't work that way. It comes off of your alignment. You know this, you know this, you know this. all of us could walk into a room in a building that we'd never been in. And some of us will all pick up on the same kind of space, similar. Some of us will notice certain things more. The lighting, the decor, the scent. Everybody's going to pick up something different, first perception, because that's you aligning. So you need to keep that in mind and know you're surrounded by love. Know you're surrounded by love. And know that the only thing you are ever asked to do in the highest degree of assistance is love. To be that love, to anchor that love, to hold that love. Do you remember the line I used when I said I heard hold the line, hold the line, hold the line? And there's a whole wonderful synchronicity with my daughter as well, with her buying a bookmark, I think, or something, or a sticker or something, the day of this, when she didn't know I was hearing this and seeing this in this space that we were going to work in together. And she bought it and it said, hold the line. And it's not something we say. Now we do, but wasn't. So the whole understanding of what to do in the space between, what can you do in the space between if somebody you know is in need in that kind of space of shift, and they're thinking about leaving and moving into the next space of them. What is the most, and you might have a client. How many times have you had, if you are an AQE facilitator or other energy healing modalities, how many times has somebody from a family or a friend called you and said, please, I need a session for so-and-so because they had a heart attack and they're in a hospital, or because they had a car accident and they're in the hospital, whatever it is. So if you're going into that space, you're going in just like you go into the quantum period. You're going in just like you go into an Acasma session, a Acasma flow, and you go in. And anyone here who's not, a facilitator, you can email me for additional info, and if you're interested in going into this space. But there's other modalities out there that also have these understandings. Now, you go in the same way. Why? Because it's the quantum, it's the space between, it's in this understanding of the field, the limitless potential, and where everything is unfolding, and there's increments, and there's vibrational shifts, and there's dimensions, there's realities, there's timelines, it's all there. So you, as the beautiful creator that you are, you have the ability to just get still. I close my physical eyes because that allows me to focus on the space I'm meaning to focus on. I open them many times while I'm in there, but it's all right. Just that's how I get in. You do what you want, but that's how I get in. And I go in and I scope it out. I scope it out. It makes sense. Have you ever watched, any of these movies where they go into save a city, or they go into, there's a bank robbery, or any of these things where there's something going on and someone's coming in to assist, but they're not necessarily signed up to come in. They're kind of coming in even though everything's already in motion, right? So what do they want to know? How many people are in there? Now, of course, nobody, in my experience of going in the space between, nobody's had guns, but you know what I mean. How many are armed? How many are this? How many are that, right? You understand what I'm saying. They scope it out. That gives you time to allow yourself to sense the space, read the space, and really understand that you're not really separate from the space. You're not separate from the space. You're not separate from anything. And that's what you're owning in all of these understandings of all these spaces between, because you've been owning that you are all the spaces, the physical spaces, the emotional spaces. Oh, I'm so angry. Oh, I'm so anxious. Oh, I'm so happy. And all of the other spaces that we touch and feel in those manners as well, like, the sun on our skin. We've owned all those spaces. But here's the thing. You go into higher consciousness, you have to understand you're all the other spaces too. You're all the other spaces too. So you scope it out. You allow yourself to sense and feel the space without judgment. And if you've got fears because you've not done it and there's a hesitation or the unknown alone is a fear, that's all right. That's called human. You're all right. You're in human form. It makes sense. You're not doing anything wrong. It's like saying it's wrong because you have to breathe. You're human. You have to breathe. You're human. You go into an unknown space. You might have a fear of the unknown. The difference is, do you feed it or do you calm it with your wholeness? And do you hold your anchor in your wholeness? That's the key. How many times I've walked into spaces of the unknown and I, through my own creation, not because the unknown is full of these things, but because my creation of alignment said that it was, I encountered spaces that were scary to me. Angela's writing a book about this as well, higher vibrational mediumship with Acasma. And when you shift and you allow yourself to process the fear from the wholeness, the anchored source space, your light, your truth, your eternal being, you're going to see differently because you're processing from a different vantage point. And you're going to be able to scope it out. Now, you might have some spaces that you have to allow yourself to navigate. Like I have had spaces where I chose to, as I saw something and felt something that was scary to me, I chose to reach out to it and say, I give you love. And I didn't say that without any fear in my being, but I said that through the fear that was in my being, from the anchored belief in my wholeness. So my wholeness was allowed to be released through my now version into my now creation. And my now creation was given the opportunity to level up into the next space of itself, which in essence is me, is you. Anything you see in your creative spaces, whether you're seeing them in the physical, you created it. If you're seeing it in the quantum, you created it. If you're seeing it, it is also giving you, and you are giving it simultaneously an opportunity to ascend into the next vibrational space of you. That's how the whole thing works. Every space and every space between. So this is really important because there's a lot of healing of fear here. And living in a space of higher consciousness does not happen with bounds of fear. They don't align. They're not energetically able to interact with one another. I experience very different spaces now. I'm so grateful. I healed 47, 48 years of sickening fear. Honestly, I used to throw up. I was so scared. And I healed it in about 2 years of committed, coming from my wholeness, coming from my source space, not chickening out. If I was having a dream and it got weird or scary, I didn't run. I did everything I could to stay very lucid, very present, and confront the space from that understanding that I had created it and that I had aligned it and designed it to help me heal. Now, should everyone believe what I say? Only if it feels right to your heart. I listen to people and they have wonderful stories and deep understandings, and I don't align with them. So I don't expect everyone to align with what I say, but I offer it because this is what I do, and this is how I do my life, and I have experiential spaces of proof that it works. So I feel safe in sharing it with you. But you need to know yourself, you need to trust yourself, and if you're asked to go into the space between to help them, you scope it out, you anchor yourself in that space of your wholeness, that love, and you allow yourself to see that love just filling the space between. Because whatever's happening in there is their stuff. You're there to just offer balance. We're not there to manipulate them and say, you can't leave yet, your family doesn't want you to die. They may need to transition. It may be part of the package that their family needs to be in that understanding. Their family needs to walk in a different path. And until that happens, it's not going to move. I don't know those things. I don't need to. I don't ask. I simply know love is the greatest of these. And if I'm drawn in to go in, I go in, I scope it out, and I hold that love. What I witnessed was love brings balance. So if you're bringing balance, what does that mean? Now the person that they asked you to come in to help is able to make their choice of transition or not from a space of clarity. They're able to make it from a space of peace, because most of the time, here's what's been happening. It's been turmoil. It's been chaos. It's been almost torture, trauma. Because most of the time, if they're in that space between, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, something happened to put them there, like their body is laying in a hospital bed and something's happened to it. Or maybe even others close to them were involved in something with them, and they know that. So they've got this torturous trauma going on of what's wrong with their mother or their son or whoever they were with. There can be so many layers here. That's why the greatest thing you can do is anchor love, because that will calm everything down to a balanced space so they can hear from their heart and not their heads, if you will. And then you hold the space. That's the hold the line. You hold the line, hold the line, hold the line, and give them time to decide from clarity. No attachment to what they decide. Now, I will be honest with you. I don't do a lot of private work, if that makes sense. Most of the work I do, people hire me. They book a session for themselves or another. I don't sit around daily and think of people and family or friends and work on them. I just don't do that. And this particular case was so different in that way because I wasn't asked to do this by anyone, but I believe the higher self of the person that's in my extended family. I believe that's who was talking to me. And I did say when I was in there, and I don't really even know this person that well, to be honest with you. It's extended family, but the person that I'm close to and love very dearly, loves them very dearly. So do you see the connective point? And so when I was in the space between, I scoped it out and I brought in love and balance, and I was witnessing what was happening there. I did say, all right, I'm going to call one in. I never call any in. Do you understand what I'm saying? I was putting it out there to my teams, and we all know we have incredible, powerful teams. And I said, for this person I'm really close to, I said, I'm calling one in for them now. I need you guys to do whatever you do, that if we can help, if this is ultimate for this person, not the person that I'm connected directly to, right? The person in the in-between. If it is ultimate for them to stay, please help it happen. Do you see how I did that? I wasn't saying make it happen. If it's ultimate, optimal, then assist it, And there was a lot that had to happen in their physical body. It has been documented now. The doctors they have no way of understanding how this happened. Because it was one thing after another. It wasn't just what they went into the hospital for, but while they were in the hospital, because of faulty equipment that wasn't cleaned correctly, they got other things on top of it. And it just kept happening, and it was bigger and bigger and bigger. And all of that is taken care of. So when you're in there, scope it out, hold the love. You enter just like you enter meditation, just like you enter a quantum session. It's all here. It's all here. This is physical, but it's all right here. It's just another space of vibration. Let your imagination assist you. It's a powerful tool. It's actually a visual, like if you could imagine a radar or something that guides, but it's inside your imagination. Let it help you. Trust it. Allow it out. Get in there, scope out the space for the person, hold the love, hold the love, hold the love. And when you're doing that, you're holding the line that is allowing them some time to gain balance and clarity. Now, hopefully now I can just refer people to this video that will reach out and need some assistance with this. And if anybody has questions, please email me, or if we have time at the end, I'll go over them. I want to touch on a couple other spaces. I want you to think about lines. Just really picture a line, like you're drawing a line with a pencil, all right? So I want you to picture a line, and you understand a line usually has a starting point and an ending point, you know? And many times we can connect points with lines, right? And so I want you to allow yourself to think about that. And then at the same time, I want you to know that lines, all of our energy, if you will, our consciousness is information. It's all what makes us us. And so we're kind of made up of a bunch of lines that are all different, filled with different information. And these lines of information are energy. They're vibration. And if we took them back to their core point before any form, I believe they register in what we would call sound or vibrational frequency. And then when they begin to move, the light is involved. And then when these spaces of us as information move into a form base, like you come into the womb of your mother, your sound and light, that is your information, takes on a form. Human. So all those lines of energy, of information are in your human. And then your human processes its experiences from being a baby, coming out, even in the womb. A lot is done in the womb. If the mother is highly stressed, or if the mother is happy, all of these things, those are her lines of energy. And this is not a judgment on anybody. This is information to allow you to process these understandings of your being and live from that higher understanding of your being. But these lines that hold your information, there are many of these lines that are, all of them connect out into the physical and manifest. The ones that get focused on the most get seen the most. So if you can picture yourself with your imagination in your human format in this now, and then you can imagine these lines of information that are all inside of you. They're in you. Do not look outside of you yet. So all these lines of information are running in you. And you start to focus on certain ones. They grab your attention more than others. You gravitate toward them more than others. Most of the time, I believe it's because you've been trained to do so. And right now, and for the last 2 years, for many of you, you've been training yourself to not do so. Or at least be conscious of the lines you're staring at. Do you understand me? So the ones you focus on, they move, if you will, for an understanding of this, they move out of you, and they are designing and aligning experiences that match them. This is another way of saying what we've been saying, but it's important for you to see the lines. I want you to see the lines. Talking about spaces of you. We're talking about spaces between the spaces of you and how it's all you. And then we're talking about these lines that are connecting into all the spaces based upon what the space is vibrating at and what the line vibrates at. That's how they make connection. It's energy. It's alignment. So now you understand these lines of your information in your being and how they align experiences in your life. Now I want you to think about a lot of people, I don't particularly love this wordage here, but I haven't come up with something else yet. But a lot of people have stories, or they have a story. And you'll know if you have one or if someone else has one because you say it a lot. It's like something that is an anchored core space of how a person sees themselves. So they'll say, well, you know, when I was little, so-and-so did this to me, and that's why I'm this way. That's a story line. That's a story line. Why do I want you to see that? Because then you can see the energy. Because I just got done telling you that the lines are the energy. And as long as that story keeps getting your focus, that line is going to continue to align those experiences. It's not staying in the space of you when you were a little kid. The experiences are happening now as well. But it's not because the now life is that energy. It's because the now you, or someone you know, is living in the story that created that energy when they were a child. They say, I just can't get away from it. It is because the person is continually giving that line validation, claiming it. As long as someone says, well, you know, I, blah, 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 that's what their energy alignment is. So now when I say, if you go to the space between where a being is transitioning and you want to at least hold love and balance so that they can make the choice. Like my father, he passed away when I was 23 years old. He was 61, but he was sick a very long time of his life. And we did healing sessions. We were in the church then. He used to go lift his hands up at the church services, and it was really beautiful. We were all really trying to understand and move into a space of being able to bring healing. But we were still very separated and very disconnected from the understanding of what was really happening. And even with that understanding for myself, I remember my dad saying to me, he said, baby girl, please don't pray for God to take me when I look like I'm, down for the count. Because there were many times he'd have heart attacks or whatever, right? He'd say, please don't come from the sense of, oh Lord, just let him be out of his misery. You know what I mean? Which I understand, because I knew why he was saying it. He knew that we didn't want him to suffer, right? And we had seen a lot of suffering, also seen many miracles, more miracles than suffering. He outdid the odds so many times, countless times. But here's the thing, he said that, and he was the one in the position of being closer to the space between, if you will, right? I always remembered that when I learned and understood working in the space between. I thought of my dad and how even when he was still in physical form, he was giving me guidance. He was saying, look, don't see me as down for the count. Don't say, oh, you're going to be better off. You're going to feel so much love, and just let them go into the peace. That's fine. I'm not saying you can't do that, but I'm saying it's also okay to say, if we can hold love, if we can hold the line of love and peace and balance, and we can bring in the healing, if they want it, let's do it. And they have the option to take it. But if everybody's sitting on the sideline going, God bless, I know they'll be better off on the other end, nobody's holding the line for them, So maybe we just need to adjust that understanding just a little bit and know that we're leaving that whole concept of manipulation, right? Which is, I don't care what they want. I just want them to live. I could never live without them, right? We need to drop that. We can't go to the space between with that. And we need to drop, I'm sorry, I hope no one's offended, but rebuking and condemning anything that's trying to, quote, take them. And be open to being love and holding the line of love. And then allow yourself to understand beyond that kind of space, all of these spaces you are you holding on to a space you no longer are? But because you're holding it and you're giving it focus, it is still showing up in your now line because you're holding the line in that connection. Do you see this? Do you see all of these vast spaces? You're being given the opportunity. I've been given the opportunity to become super aware, empowered, responsible for our energy, for our lives, for the interactivity of our lives with others. That comes from love, not fear in any way, shape, or form, not manipulation, attachment, or judgment, but from knowing thyself enough to know that we are beyond all of that. Those were spaces that allowed us to understand we were beyond them. We're not running away from them. We're not saying we're above them. We're saying we've already done them. Now it's time to move to the next space. We understand that space of ourselves. Now let's move into this space of ourselves. And in this space of ourselves, we do things differently. What does that mean? If we're doing it differently, it means what we experience is going to be different. Because if we did it the way we've done it before, it's going to play out the way it's played out before. So you're going to see things differently, unfolding differently, because you're doing things differently. And that's the ever-expanding you. So thinking of the lines of energy that make up you and how there's so many of them. And then you can choose which ones you're focusing on the most, because you have a limitless potential, people, of availability of focus. You have limitless potential of availability of focus in your now line. So choose what you want to focus on. And guess what? If you want to change it tomorrow, do it. Just because you choose one line today doesn't mean that's the line you have to focus on for the rest of your life. You could pick a new line every day. Might become a very balanced person that way. But check your lines that you're focusing on. See if any of them are hooked into some spaces of you that you aren't even that story anymore. You really aren't. The only reason you are is because you keep telling it, but it is not really who you are. It was who you were in a moment of you. But now your vastness has come in, your understanding of your wholeness has come in, and you're functioning in a much different space of you. Allow that to help you check your lines and the focus thereof, and then decide, are you holding the line on a space that you no longer want to hold the line on? Whatever we hold the line of energetically, we anchor. And whatever we anchor, we expand. So when you go in the space between to assist, you're holding the line of love. You're anchoring love, and love expands. And love heals all. Love covers everything. Physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, every space of the being. And then check your being, your lines of experiential spaces, yes, your information flowing through your body, all of this of you, and figure out what you're holding that you might want to release the grip on. You might want to alchemize, put some love on that, and you might want to look for, like, I know this seems funny, but honest to God, imagine you can see them in front of you, the lines that make up you. And, you know, look, I'm looking, do this. Maybe alone though, because if people see you doing this, they might come get you or something. But see the lines and then, say, oh, that one looks beautiful. I love that one. That one's like an abundance of love and joy and peace and freedom, doing whatever I love. Yes, I'm going to hold that line. And then you hold that line. You focus on that line. You anchor that line. You expand that line. So that's how you cast and hold a new line. That was the last of the spaces I said I would cover. How you cast, have you ever seen anybody fish, or maybe you've fished? I've fished once or twice in my day. So you have a fishing pole, right? And some of them, they have like the reel with the fishing line. I've done a cane pole too, where it's just like a dead string, it's not on a reel. Either way, it doesn't matter. So you choose, you take that fishing pole or cane pole and you have a line hooked to it, right? You're holding the line when you're holding the pole, right? And you look at the lake or the pond or the water in front of the ocean and you cast your line out into the limitless potential of fish available. Yes? Are you with me? Are you following me? You seeing what we're doing here? And you hold the line, intending to catch what you've cast out to align with your fish. Yes? You can even play with that. And you can think of all the ways. I'm not a fisher person, but they have fancy bobbers and little glowy things that fish are attracted to, and weights that go to different levels, and thickness of the fishing line. You can think about all of that. You can imagine the fishing analogy, and you can imagine all your information lines. Yes? What are you casting out? Is your line strong? Can it bring that in? Right? Do you want to add a little glow to it? Right? Have fun with it as you think about how you cast your lines, because that is the grand creator that you are. It's your tackle box, yes? You get to open it up. I used to love that. My uncle loved fishing when I was a little kid. He had this tackle box that was so cool. You opened it up and it had like 3 shelves and they moved, right? You know what I'm talking about, some of you. So you open the lid and these shelves just magically would go do 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 do. And these shelves had all these little boxes. They were so cool. They were perfect little boxes. And every little box has colorful, really pretty different types of bait, to entice those fish, yes? So remember, you have your own tackle box, yes? And you have your own line. And you really, with conscious awareness, have that grand ability to create, to manifest, to be, to live from all the spaces of you, anchored in your love, expanding that, and holding the line of the spaces you are worthy of. You are worthy of. All right, beautiful one. Let me check the chat for a minute here. Oh, that's so good. Meredith wrote in that. All right, let me check above here real quick. Everyone's saying hello. Thank you. Okay. So Meredith wrote in as well here, and she said, you can see the chat, those of you looking at it. I'll read it out loud for video people. You remember on the White Queen when her mom assisted her in pulling in the line of the fishing line with the crown ring? I do, and I didn't make the connection, so thank you, Meredith, for remembering that. And anyone who hasn't seen the first Being the New Human for June, there's reference in there to the White Queen, which is a show, and connotation, understanding my daughter and I share when we do energy work, that we kind of took out of the show a little bit. And so yes, they use fishing line in that scene, and that's fantastic, Meredith, that you made the connection and brought it into the class. So thank you. More confirmation, yes? More confirmation. That's beautiful. All right, so this was a lot of information. It was a lot. So honestly, I'm going to be very blunt here. What you put into this space, you will get out of this space. If you have one time here with it, that's the amount you're going to take away, and that can be beautiful. If you will revisit this, even if it's incremental, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here, whatever, put it on fast. I do that sometimes. It's a little annoying, but but the information is there. Yes, you're going to pick up things that you're going to be like, I can't even believe she said that. I don't even remember she said that. And then you are like, that was in there. Trust yourself. Trust me. Lean in. Get the most out of this. This is expansive understandings that will completely free your being to live the life you choose on your terms completely, no matter what's happening around you. All right. I want you to email me if you have any questions, please, all right? Or comment below the video when I get it up on Patreon, which I will do. And if I don't, in 48 hours, Doreen's going to write me and tell me, where's the video? Yes, I hope so. All right, I did. Thank you, Doreen. She says she will, LOL. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I did just move into a space of understanding that I needed assistance. Sydney works with me pretty much 24/7 almost, but everything's very big now, which is lovely. I'm grateful. I love it. But Angela has come on, so our beautiful Acasma Hearts with Angela. She's going to be working to assist me on all levels, and she's jumped in like full force. I'm so grateful, and she's going to be helping me not miss things, and not only that, but open things up even bigger. And so I'm very grateful for that. And I just wanted you all to know so that you can root us on. You can hold the line with us of that higher love. Yes, 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 yes. All right, beautiful ones. And all my beautiful AQE2 masters, I will see you in 9 minutes. Right back here. Yes. All right. I love you. I love you. I love you. Mwah. Thank you for the hugs. Thank you for the love. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Blessings, beautiful ones. Blessings.